import users over from MemberPress. Can you point me in the right direction for that? Yes. All right, so let me share my screen. Okay, so I'm not sure if you've seen this resource, but if you go to our support center, there's an article somewhere that I'm not going to search for right now, but Cindy will post it in the chat. This is going to be the starting point that I would say. But then essentially you go over to MemberMouse and you go to import members, and you're going to download this import template. So this is essentially the format. You know, you're going to need to export people from MemberPress and then get that data into this format, right? So I imagine that there is some way in MemberPress to export to a CSV file or something like that. So you just do that, and then you just, you know, move the columns around in that file to make sure that they match what you're seeing here. Now, there are many places I can go with this, but basically, like, step number one is probably to configure MemberMouse to be set up in terms of access rights and everything the same way that you have it in MemberPress, or the way that you want it to be. And the reason that that's the first step is because before you import people, you're going to need to know what type of access they're going to be imported into. So those things need to exist prior to doing the import. And one of those reasons is that if you're using bundles, you're going to need to specify in this import file which bundle should be applied to that person's account. And in order to do that, those bundles will need to be created. So step number one, you know, get MemberMouse configured and set up so that you have all your access correct. And then the second step is you export your data from MemberPress or whatever system you're moving from, get it into this format, which is just moving some columns around, getting the data in here. And then normally what I like to do is I like to do a test import. So for example, like, let's just say this is our, once you get your file set up, I'm going to say test member one test invalid. Okay, so I've got all this data in here. And let's say, if I look at my setup, what I've got going on here, let's say that this person is going to be given the X course bundle and the basics bundle. So the ID of basics bundle is 40 and the ID of X course is 42. So in my bundles column, in my import file, I'll do 40 pipe 42, and the status of both of these is going to be active, which is 1 and 1. And again, all of these numbers are explained, like what the status values mean and what each column, it's all explained in the migration guide. And in the import wizard article that is shared in the chat right now. And then I'm just going to leave start date blank because start date will just be the date that I'm importing it, which is right now. You can also import custom fields, like if you have additional data to what, let me see if I have any custom fields set up in my development environment right now. Okay, so I have a website field. So this is an ID of one. So we'll just show how this works. So I'll just say the website here is membermouse.com, whatever. Okay, so what I like to do is before I go ahead and import every single member, I like to do a test run just to make sure I have the file set up right and everything looks good. So um, I'm using numbers, so I'm going to export this to a CSV file. On my desktop, export, okay. And now from MemberMouse, I go to Manage Members, Import Members, choose File, upload, and then you specify which membership level that these people should be imported into. So I'm just going to choose the free membership because you saw that I'm assigning bundles to this person's account. So I'm using bundles for access in this example. You can specify here if you want a welcome email to be sent. I'm not going to do that because this is just a test. Click import and click OK. Not sure why my server is okay. All right, so now we can see it gives us a printout of each row in the file. I only had one row because I was doing a test, but it tells us, okay, member added successfully, and then each one of these bundles was added successfully. And now if I go to manage members, I can see that new member is there. This is what we want to look for, right? So, okay, obviously you want to make sure that the member shows up in the members area, and we make sure that all the access rates are what we intended them to be. And then we click into this account, go to access rates. I see that they have those two bundles applied. And then I go to custom fields and I see that the website came in. It's just giving things, running your eye over it, making sure it looks good. And then once you've confirmed that one account, then I would go ahead and run the whole thing, import all the members. Now, you noticed that there was a password column. In your case, I would remove this because the thing is, since you are migrating from one WordPress plugin to another, and both WordPress plugins are using the WordPress user system, there's a more in-depth explanation of what I'm about to go into in the migration guide. It talks about let me find it. Yeah, I mean, this article is essentially going into everything that I am talking about, but, more written out and more well formatted. So basically, this is what I was about to say. MemberMouse integrates with the WordPress user system. And that means when a MemberMouse member is created, a WordPress user is automatically created as well. So in the situation where you're migrating from another WordPress system and the user is already there, it will just use the existing user. And what this means for your members or your customers is that their passwords and everything will remain exactly the same. So you have the opportunity in that situation to have it be very seamless for them. They'll log in with the same credentials. You don't have to issue a new password. So in your case, you would most likely leave this password field blank. So that's basically it. Now, from the from the billing perspective, this stuff isn't going to be able to be migrated over. So this, typically what I recommend that people do is you basically just let your whatever active subscriptions are going on with whatever third-party systems, you just let those continue to run as they're running. Because of course, what you could do is get your new MemberMouse site up and say to people, hey, I'm canceling your old subscription. Please come and enter your card information here so we can get your subscription restarted on the new site. But of course, if you do that, you risk having some people not do that and therefore losing revenue. So typically it's just best to let the active subscriptions on the old system just like expire in their own time. Naturally events will happen where they'll need to enter in their card information. For example, if their account goes into overdue status, if their card is declined or something like that, they'll need to re-enter their card information. So you pretty much just watch it. Your old people, like once you move to the new system, everybody new going forward will all be set up in MemberMouse and tracked by MemberMouse. And any old customer who purchases something new, that will all go through MemberMouse. But all the existing subscriptions that you have currently, you would just keep them running. And then as they naturally end or need to be renewed, that's when you switch them over to MemberMouse. You point them to the new checkout page.